Hi class, today we are on Saxon Book 3, Lesson 73, and today we're going to talk about volume. So, volume is how much space something takes up. So we've talked about length, where we measure lines with a ruler. We've talked about area, where we measure with square inches. In volume, we're talking about three-dimensional shapes. And so we use a three-dimensional shape to measure. So this is called a cubic inch. Let me write that down so you can see what it looks like. Here it is in words, cubic inch. And what that means is I have a cube that is 1 inch long, 1 inch wide, 1 inch high. And it's just this perfect little 1 inch cube that we use or we think about the same way we think about square inches to fill in three-dimensional objects. So, looking back here, I have a rectangular prism. I have given you the length, the width, and the height of my rectangular prism back here. So, we're thinking if I have cubes, how many cubes would I lay across the bottom corner of this prism? These are all 1 inch wide, and this is 6 inches long. So how many cubes could I place side by side in this box? I could place 6 of them. So I would have one little row of 6 cubes. Then I could stack those rows of 6 up to fill this whole entire side. I have 4 inches height, 4 inches going up. So I can fit 6 cubes across. How many cubes could I stack, or how many of those rows of 6 could I stack in this rectangular prism? I could stack 4 of them. So I'm going to think about that front 6 by 4. I'm going to think about that as a layer. If I have 6 going this way and 4 going this way, I'm going to draw it for you really quick here. Okay, so here's my 6 by 4 layer. And I've got those, they're cubes. They're not flat like my picture. They're cubes. I've got those stacked inside this box. How many make up this layer? 4 times 6, I have 24 cubes there. Okay? Well, that's only the first layer. That's the very front of this rectangular prism. It also has a depth, over here I wrote it down, a depth of 2 inches. So how many of these 24 cube layers could I fit inside this box? Remember, they're 1 inch deep. So I could put 2 of these layers inside there. So that means it would take me a total of 48 cubic inches to fill up this box. And here's how we write it. We write, just like when we did square inches, we do 48 inches cubed. The 3 means cubed. The reason we call it squared and cubed is because that's how many dimensions we're dealing with. So when we square something, we're talking about measuring the length and the width. That's 2 dimensions. Length is 1 dimension, width is a 2nd dimension. When we cube it, when we try to figure out volume instead of area, we're adding a 3rd dimension called height. So now we have to figure out our length, our width, our height, and then we use this practice of, well, how many would one layer be? And then we multiply that, or in this case, we just added 24 plus 24 to figure out what both layers would be. Okay, so volume is talking about length, width, and height. So if you are in my class, you have lesson activity 28. in your packet. There is a picture there of a rectangular prism, and it asks you some questions. It wants you to use your ruler to find the length, the width, and the height, and then figure out the volume from there. So you'll be doing that after this video, but I don't want you to forget. Okay? The last example we are going to look at says Millie had a gift box, and I made mine probably a little bit too long. So Millie had a gift box. You can see from the picture how many cubes one layer is. So let me finish the picture so that you can see it. And then it shows us that it has some height, but it doesn't show the height in the picture. It just looks like this, okay? So one layer, here's what it says. Millie filled a small gift box with 1-inch cubes. The picture shows the top layer. There are 2 layers of cubes. How many cubes are in the box? What is the volume of the box in cubic inches? So we start by saying, well, how many cubes are in the top layer? If you count them, you can see that we have 5 going this way and 4 going this way. So how many cubes are in the top layer? 20. And the problem told us that there are 2 layers. So if it's 20 in one layer, it would also be 20 in the other layer. So how many cubes are in this box? 40 cubes. And then it tells us that each of these cubes are cubic inches. So now we have to say, how many cubic inches is the gift box? It is 40 cubic inches. And like I said before, we write that like this, with inches and then the little tiny 3 right there. 40 cubic inches. All right, boys and girls, your lesson practice is on page 396. It's only 2 questions. You're going to look at the cube picture there and answer the volume of the box. I'm sorry, you're going to answer the volume of each box and then figure out the total volume of the picture. So those 2 questions. When you finish that, check your answer key to see if you got those questions correct, or if you don't have an answer key, ask your homeschool parent so that they can check your work for you. And if you're my student, don't forget to do lesson activity 28. You're going to be practicing measuring with your ruler and using that skill to then figure out volume as well. We will look at the answers to that worksheet when I see you again next week. After you've done all of your lesson practice, it's time to start your written practice, which begins on page 397. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon.